Good evening, and welcome to the Woman to Woman show on the New U Nation Network. We are excited to be back for another Monday night. And before we get into our topic, how you ladies doing?
Doing all right.
Doing good.
Doing good. Another Monday fun day.
Yeah. Another Monday.
Listen, we're all above ground, so it's a good day.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
That's true.
All right, so let's get started because this is a really good topic tonight. So I really want to get into it. But first, let's start out by doing what we normally do, which is to introduce ourselves and say what we are grateful for.
Oh well, okay. I'll go first. Okay. My name is Regina Howard Norman of Origin Unlimited, where I gave y'all the logo was my tagline is what I told you initially. And at this very moment, it just went out my head because I just had a heavy conversation. So, what I am grateful for, I'm grateful for authenticity. I'm grateful to be at the age where I can have honest conversations with people I love and not necessarily sugarcoat, but speak in love and not in aggression. So, that's what I'm grateful for today.
All right, come on now. All right, who's next?
I am Sheila Isom. I am an insurance professional. I am also a stylist with Color Street. We sell nail polish strips. We sell nail care. We sell makeup. I'm not going to show you my nails because I took my nail polish off yesterday and was too tired to actually take the time to put them on. But they'll be on a little bit later on. So I am a notary public, and I am also an inspiring voice actor. And I am grateful to know that I am not alone.
That's good.
Good evening. My name is Regina Booker. I'm the owner of Season and Fabulous, where women 50 plus go after their dreams, careers, or wherever they are in life. Because we know when we get to that point in life, it's kind of like a fork in the road. And it's never too late to do your desires, dreams, goals, whatever it is you want to do. And I am grateful for a peace of mind, just a peace of mind, Lord. Thank you.
Nice. All right. Well, I am Theodora Carter. I am a professional life coach, career coach, HR consultant, and my desire, my passion is to help women rewrite the stories they're ready to outgrow so that they can live with clarity, courage, and intention. And so that is who I am. And I am grateful to be here tonight. I am grateful for peace of mind. I am grateful that I had an opportunity to connect with my other girls in HR. This weekend was a meetup of some super fabulous HR executive professionals, my network. And so we had an opportunity to come together in West Palm Beach and catch up and, talk a little bit about this HR world that we are in as African American women, and then just to hang out and chill with each other. So I'm grateful for that community and for those sisters that I get to do this work with. And so welcome to the Woman to Woman show. If you're just joining us, this is the Woman to Woman show on the New U Nation Network. And we are here every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are one of many, many fabulous shows on this network. So if you have not yet done so, please like and subscribe so you can check out some of the other shows on the network. But we're going to get started with our topic tonight. I'm excited the spotlight is on Sheila, who is
Hey.
yeah, her journey with alopecia. And so last week, she came on and surprised us with her new hairstyle, which is bald, and shared like just that she has decided to go that route after being on a journey with alopecia for a year. So Sheila, when did you first start having, or were you issues with your hair that you realized that it was alopecia? Like, when were you first diagnosed?
Okay. So my son will be 26 in a couple of months. And I can recall that he was still in um, his car seat, right?
Mm,
He was still in his car seat, and my treat to myself would always be to go and get my hair done every 2 weeks, right?
mm,
I was getting relaxers and things like that. And but I am not made to one that's made to sit there and try to do hair, be creative with style. And again, that was my only indulgence. I didn't even go and get my nails done that regularly. Heck, I would do them myself, right?
mm.
And then, one day I was going to my stylist, and she actually did hair out of her home.
Okay.
And this is probably like maybe my second or third visit with her. And she said, "Do you know you have a bald spot on top?"
Mm.
And I said, "No, I didn't." So she let me know that it was right here, right off to the center, towards the right side. And so at that time, I was separated from my husband. I was trying to handle all of the bills. I was working temporary job because my long-term job I was laid off from, and just trying to navigate life at 35. Right now, my entire life is uprooted. So naturally, I just chalked it up to stress. Because I knew my hair was healthy and it was being taken care of. So, I didn't wear weaves. I didn't wear extensions because that just wasn't my thing. You know, I would never, to me, that was just something that was never in my vocabulary. I liked real hair.
Mm.
And then, so I ended up leaving that stylist and I went to another stylist, and every stylist that I went to was usually by referral. Um, and this stylist never said anything about any bald patches that I may have. Right. So again, I'm still going through the stressful situation within my home life and my employment.
Mm.
Um, Leave that stylist, and I start going to another stylist, and the one that I went to, my hair was at its healthiest. Okay, I loved her. I don't know what she did, but my hair was extremely healthy. And again, my son at this point is a toddler, probably one of the few kids that was welcomed in hair salons because he was well mannered.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so then something happened where she ended up closing shop. So I had to go searching around for another stylist. I found one, and it wasn't a big deal because it didn't appear that the spot was growing. But then, along with the stress that I'm having from my personal and professional life, um, now, of course, I'm one of those I become a stereotype. Now I have high blood pressure.
Oh,
And one of
wow.
the things that I kind of prided myself in was that I didn't, I was one of out of my nuclear family, I didn't have it, right? And so it was like, oh, okay, we've got to do better. So now I start with medication. And at one point, I guess the medication must not have been controlling my blood pressure as it should have been. So my doctor put me on a totally different type of medication, higher dosage, of course. And then I noticed that my hair was starting to come out more. But now I'm good. It's starting to thin a lot more. Now, truth be told, we always had, my sisters and I, my mother, we always had thin hair. That was totally genetics, right? So there was
Yeah.
nothing that we could do about that. I didn't particularly care about long hair because, as far as I was concerned, that was just too much maintenance, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just needed my hair to look nice and on point. And the only time it was looking messy was right before I was going to another um, appointment, because if all else failed, I knew to do a ponytail.
Okay.
So, you know, I didn't like sitting for braids. So every now and then I would get braids, but it
Okay.
was so far and few between. The most that I would have done to my hair was that maybe I would get some two-stranded twists or something like that. Um, so as time progresses, though, the hair on top of my head at the crown just started thinning and thinning and thinning. Now I'm on to a different stylist, and I have been with this stylist for probably a good 20 years, right? Um, and it's just that it's starting to like really, really progress. And one of her counterparts just asked me one day, and she said, "Well, you know, is your father balding?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "So that might be hereditary. You may be getting female pattern baldness." Um, and then, of course, with the medication, and it just seemed to start coming out more and more. And when I mentioned it to my doctor, she said, "No, that wouldn't be it." Right? Totally dismissed it. So
Okay.
finally, I decided to take a step and see what was wrong, right? And this is also part of my journey. So I wanted to, I got some information together, right? So for those that don't know, and I've made no secret about this, about my alopecia journey, if you've been a regular um, listener or watcher of our show, it's the medical term for hair loss, which can manifest in various forms, including patchy hair loss, male or female pattern baldness, and hair loss from hairstyling practices. So there are different types of alopecia. So we have alopecia areata that can be actually caused by an autoimmune disease. So you may
Oh,
see sudden and patchy hair loss on the scalp and other areas like eyebrows and
mm,
eyelashes. So I didn't experience that. We always,
okay.
again, with the thinning hair, we always had, in my family, we had sparse eyebrows. So
Okay.
that was not an issue.
Yeah.
There are severe forms of alopecia areata that can include total hair loss. And then there's alopecia universalis, where it's total body hair loss.
Oh.
Then when we talk about your male pattern baldness or your female pattern baldness, that's androgenetic alopecia, which is a common type. And of course, we see it in males all the time, but women can experience it as well, because it's those that have a genetic predisposition that increases with age. Now,
Oh.
we as especially Black women, because we are extremely creative and we care about our crowns, but we've been hearing for years that some of these protective styles, right, are really damaging our hair. People make jokes about, losing your edges, and that comes from wearing hairstyles, namely braids, namely wigs, that are now rubbing against your hairlines, right? Or pulling your hair. So I think, excuse me, as we were all growing up, when mama or grandmama or auntie would braid your hair, you always felt it was too tight, right?
Yeah.
And they did it tight so that they wouldn't have to keep doing your hair all over again. But that can develop into traction alopecia. And this
Oh.
is caused by hairstyles that pull on the hair, such as braids and even ponytails, right? Because you try to get that slick back look and you're pulling it real hard to get that rubber band in there tight. that can cause alopecia.
So Sheila, did you ever have relaxers?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I was a relaxer person, but I didn't relax my own hair. I mean, I started out early, in my high school days and in my college days. Yeah, I would do my own relaxer. Heck, as a matter of fact, in my college days, I had the Jerry curl, right? And so my
How
Jerry
many people
curl,
had Jerry curl?
yeah. Who else had a Jerry curl, right?
I had a
My
Jerry
but I didn't do my own. I always went to a salon. However, one of the reasons why I got it was because I was away at college, so I wouldn't be able to tend to my hair or go to a salon. So every time I came home, I would make sure that it was, retightened or whatever. But it's still you're adding chemicals, right? So you're perming it's a type of perm. Again, I talked about autoimmune diseases as well as genetics, and then there's aging and hormonal changes, right? So we can all talk about the things that we experience as we get older, as those hormones rage, right? You see and feel things that you never felt before. So that's when you get into genetics, and aging is androgenetic alopecia. And of course, there's physical stress. So that kind of gets back to the traction alopecia, where you are putting stress on your hair. So it's very, very common amongst Black women, right? Again, because of our styles. And that wasn't me. I didn't do a lot of styling to me because I didn't want to spend a lot of time in the salon. So wraps. I didn't like sitting under a dryer a long time, right? I didn't like sitting for 2 hours to get my hair braided. So, to know now that I'm losing hair, and it's not because of that. And the crazy thing about it too is that whatever edges I had, my thin edges were still there. My thin edges were still there, pretty much right up until I decided to shave my hair off.
It's so crazy that you said your doctor like dismissed it. Right?
And a classic example of why it's necessary for us to be our own advocates. Right? I loved my doctor, but for her to just say, nope, it's not the medication. I was like, okay, no. Well, now we need to change medication, because this didn't advance as much as it has until I went on this medication. Okay. So you can have patchy hair loss. You can have what's called exclamation point hairs, which are short, thick hairs with a thin base found at the edge of affected areas. Nail changes are a signal. So if your nails are pitting or brittle, and there are other changes that are common in patients with alopecia areata, and as well as burning and itching. Now, I didn't experience burning, but I did experience a lot of itching at the top of my head. So again, being my own advocate, I told my doctor I wanted to go see a dermatologist. Okay. So I went to go see a dermatologist, and what they do is that, of course, they ask you all these questions. And in my case, they took a biopsy. So if you're ever close up on my head, you'll see that there's one. I do have a little bump on my head, and that's where they did the biopsy.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So the biopsy came back with a type of alopecia that is called centrifugal cicatricial alopecia. I could never pronounce this because it was just, and that's hair thinning that begins at the center of the crown,
which is where you had the first. Which is where you had the first loss.
Yes. So that's where mine was centralized, and then it just started spreading out. So as time progressed, then it just started getting thinner and thinner. I outside. And the funny thing was that, as it started to get thinner in the front, there was a while where, I was able to conceal it. Then it got to the point where, okay, the only way I could conceal it was by doing comb overs, take all my hair from one side and, bring it over to the next. And then after a while, there was no more concealing it. So I would start wearing, doing crochet braids, right?
Okay. Which probably put stress on your hair.
Which probably put more stress on it, right? So what the interesting part to me was that it started slowly thinning towards the front of my hair. Now my same thing that's hereditary in my family. We all got the big foreheads, right? So there was no feeling that. But as we started to get closer and closer to the thinning at the front of my hair, there also became a point where it seemed like that hair was actually growing. And so then I was able to start doing some concealing that way. And then all of a sudden, just like that, there was no more hair there. So with the type of alopecia that I have, this CCCA, right, the hair follicles are actually so inflamed that they no longer grow. So it's like when you look at my head, you would see closely, you would see that I had hair actually, with the exception of right there in the center of my hair. That's the smoothest part of my head because nothing was growing there.
Oh, wow.
But it would kind of just grow and stop. It would never get beyond a certain point everywhere else. So for the longest time, and then, just as I stopped wearing relaxers. I stopped getting my hair relaxed because I said, maybe if I just stop using the chemicals, that will promote growth. Instead of promoting growth, it promoted length because my hair did start getting longer, but it still continued to thin out. So with that, again, now my hair follicles are too inflamed to actually grow. And that's what the biopsy revealed, right? When they said that I had CCCA, that's what the dermatologist told me. So there were two treatment options that I was going through. Number one, everybody hears about it a lot. You hear about minoxidil, right? You heard about it primarily for men. They began making a lesser strength for women. My dermatologist told me I use the men's strength, right? And then I was also getting monthly steroid shots in my head, right? To kind of ease the inflammation.
Wow.
And so it got to the point where I wasn't seeing any results with that. And also the problem is that you have to be consistent. I think probably because I stopped the steroid shots on my own because it was painful as well, right? So after several months of not seeing any results from it, I said, I'm not going to torture myself anymore. I'll continue using the minoxidil. It seemed to slow down the hair loss, but didn't stop it completely. So the problem with that is that, it's the same thing. You'd have to be on it for the rest of your life. So again, the hair wasn't growing back. So, I just got to the point where I made the decision that I was no longer going to use the minoxidil either. So I just did what I could do to wear protective styles. I was able to get away with wearing the crochet braids for a long time. It took me really a long time to get used to wearing weaves because even when I had hair, if I wore a weave, it was a waste of money for me because within a week it was out. I just couldn't take it.
Yeah.
So I just said, okay, this is what it is. So now, as long as I have a mechanism to kind of take care of my crown, right, to give it that good outward appearance, then I'm going to continue to do it. And again, I'm still going to the salon. And so then I finally got to the point. So we're talking decades. Like I said, my son is now 25.
Wow.
Um, it took a long time to accept it. And then I discovered wigs. I hated wigs because to me, the cap was uncomfortable. And that was just making this assumption because I never even wore wigs. But I was like, I can't imagine wearing that cap. What do you do during the summertime? Blah, blah, blah. How do you keep it from falling off of your head? Oh, these wigs just look so unnatural. But there has been such a vast improvement with the quality of wigs that I was just like, I did a lot of searching first before I decided to start purchasing wigs. I had to see exactly what they looked like on people. So I would go on the website and look, and they'd see, various people. There are people posting on Facebook about it. And I slid into somebody's DM one time and I was like, can you just tell me if this is a legitimate company? And she said yes. So I like the way that the natural wigs look. I wasn't trying to get anything outrageous. I kept them within my style zone.
Yeah.
So, so then after a while, I got used to wigs, so used to wigs that it became an obsession.
Oh wow.
And again,
But let's talk about that, right? Because you had a reason, right, for needing these wigs,
yes.
right? And it's a thing because, and I don't know, Regina and Gina, if how what your thoughts are, but it's just how you see now, like weaves and wigs and whatever is just there's something with, I don't know, maybe that it's amazing because I'm listening to the journey that you went through, right? Of losing your hair and having no control over it, and then looking at women who don't struggle with that, but for some reason they use wigs and weaves because they feel like it makes them more beautiful or whatever. Like I don't know what it is. I'm assuming that, right?
And I was the same way. I couldn't understand that either for the longest time. Even before I started with this journey, to me, I just thought that there was no purpose for wigs and weaves.
Well, most of the people that I talk to or my friends that I know that wear, they don't want to do their hair. That's the reason they give it. That's the majority of the reasons that I hear, more so than what they look. Most people like, it's easier. I don't have to worry about my hair.
Well, as a person that definitely has the extensions now, I like it for two reasons. One, it does save time in doing my hair, but I also like the style. I can manage it. I can manage it better. But to your point, Sheila, you were saying earlier with the braids, even when you get your hair done and there's a tightening, they make it so tight. If you're not careful, you can lose your edges because you're not supposed to keep your hair in for a certain period of time. If you do pass that time, then you're really pulling on your strands at the root of your hair and that sort of thing. And I've learned not to do that. Now, when I got to that, it was kind of like, all right, Virginia, you're pushing it. You're a week past. You gotta take it out. But yeah, my hair, I go natural now. I don't do perms anymore. So the only way I would get the braids, like my daughter, she does my hair. She's the only one I trust to do it because, for those different reasons, for the way they treat your hair and stuff like that, you got to be able to trust the person that's dealing with your hair because that's really connected to your body and everything. So, but
I remember getting my hair done as a child, right? Not even extension, where it would be so tight that you would get those little bumps.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not
So
just
they just,
around the front, too. We're also talking about the sides as
Yep.
yes.
well as the nape of your neck, right? Because depending on the style that you're getting, it will, determines exactly how tight it's going to be in those other areas as well.
Right.
And
Yep.
then always the objective is to make sure that the braids are so tight that you don't have to go back and get your hair done for a certain period of time.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and that the same thing goes with having your hair locked, right? We
Mhm.
look at dreadlocks and we don't think about that, but again, it's the twisting method, but the the attempt is to make sure that you're getting those twists, those locks starting off especially as tight as possible so that they don't unravel. So
Mhm.
that's putting a lot of traction on your head. That's pulling your hair.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is amazing because I will honestly tell you, I think my mom started sending me to the stylist. I think by like fourth grade, I was getting perms, which is young, right? So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
imagine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine you started with chemicals in your hair that long, right? And it makes you think like, what's the psyche, right? That because I will honestly say now that we're having this conversation and I'm thinking about it, right? It just makes me think about how for me it became like a thing. Like if my hair wasn't straight or relaxed or whatever, right? I'm freaking out, right? Like that. It's like this becomes something that becomes your identity, right?
Right,
And sometimes not in a
right.
good way, right? I remember when I first decided to go natural because I have bald spots here, right? Like, and it I don't think it was alopecia, it was damage from chemicals, right? And I remember them telling me that my hair would never grow back. And it's crazy because the last time I went to my stylist, she was like, "Oh, your hair is starting to grow back in," right? And that's because I've been natural now for I don't know even know how long, but it's something because I'm just thinking like you had a issue that made you had to do that, and so many of us. I'm not gonna say speak for anybody else, but for some of us like me, it's a little bit of vanity.
Right, right.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, the kind of expectation from men is to experience that. It's not the expectation or the norm for women.
Yeah.
Right.
Um, and just an extension to that too is that our diet, our
Mm.
lifestyle has quite a bit to do with that as well. Because if you're not putting nutrients in your body, because your hair is living and breathing, right? Those follicles are living and breathing. So if you're not putting the care into your body to make sure that your body is absorbing the correct nutrients on a regular basis, what do you think that's doing to your hair that's already at a vulnerable stage? So
Mm-hmm.
that's
Yep.
one of the things that's really, really important to remember.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I think back to, how, of course, as we were growing up, you had to eat whatever it is that what your parents made.
Yeah.
And the objective was not so much as focusing on all the time, because this is not true of every household, but the objective was to make sure that you were full,
Mm-hmm.
right? So not so much as to make sure that you are getting the healthy portion sizes that you should be eating or the healthy nutrients. And then we were all accustomed to vegetable starch and protein, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And usually,
And did you have to sit at the table?
right, that protein or
That
those
was,
starches were a larger portion than the vegetables,
yep.
Right.
mainly because the vegetables cost a heck of a lot more than the starch and sometimes that protein, right? So there, so there are reasons that follow it. But as you get older, then, as you know better, you do better.
Right.
So that's another part of my message. I didn't follow it, especially once I learned the type that I had, because it's one of the one that I have, the CCA, the CCCA. It's an unexplainable.
Okay.
Mm.
It's an unexplainable type of alopecia. So again, what, like, a classic example, it wasn't traction alopecia, right? Because I did not wear those kind of hairstyles. It wasn't alopecia areata. It was a type that's caused by inflammation of the hair follicles that prevent the hair from actually growing.
Did it impact your? Did it impact like your emotional like state? Like how did it?
Absolutely. It impacts your emotional state. It impacts your psychological state, because again, women take so much pride in their appearance,
Yeah.
especially their hair. Because you think about it, there are times when you may go out with just the sweatpants on, but you're going to make sure that even if you're throwing your hair in a ponytail, that there are no strays coming out of that ponytail, right? If you take time to do anything else, you make sure that that ponytail looks good.
It's laid.
It's
Exactly.
Yeah.
it's so true. Because I remember when I first started going natural, and the reason I did crochet braids is because I didn't like how the twist looked, right? So although other people were like, "Oh, your hair looks so great," to me, I was like, "Oh my god, you look so horrible," right? Like it really was like this whole, I think, like beauty thing, right, going on. Like then I didn't I really, now that I think about it, I was like, wow, I used to be really vain.
Right. And especially if you want to attract the attention of the opposite sex, right?
Right.
Because we know that unless you were Halle Berry,
Yeah.
men like women with long hair.
Yeah.
Yes.
And while they may say, they'll use the term natural, right? They use the term natural. They just mean nothing artificial attached to your head, right?
Hmm.
Because they like the long hair that's straight.
Hmm.
So if you're in the market, then you're not necessarily going to be in tuned with not putting any kind of chemicals in your hair. Because you think about it, even with that, right? Even if you are going natural and not getting your hair relaxed or permed, right? If you use any kind of edge control, there are chemicals in it.
Yeah.
Your shampoos and your conditioners have chemicals in it,
Yeah.
especially for Black women. For the longest time, what was out there in the market was not made for our hair.
Yeah.
True.
You may not be getting relaxers, but you're still using the hot comb and the curling iron.
Yeah.
So
And the blow dryer, the blow
and the
out.
blow dryer, yes. So those things, with all of which I've done, are damaging to your hair after a while.
Mm.
Um, so it takes a lot of figuring out what you want your crown and glory to look like
Hmm.
before you can actually make that decision to either continue to go down the road of having, as they call it, the creamy crack, or to go natural,
Yeah.
right?
And
Because Gina made it was just like a lot of it, so as well as Regina, a lot of it is for convenience and not wanting to actually have to fuss with your hair. That was the
Right.
other thing about wearing a wig. I could get up and I just throw on the wig, make sure that it's straight, and then I'm out. So I saved a lot of time, unless I
yeah.
actually want to take the time and style a wig.
Yeah. It's true, but I think also, I know for me, it's crazy that a lot of it also was just like you said, it was worrying more about what other people were thinking, right? Then it's amazing how now that I'm older, right? I realize like how much what other people thought, you made you take and do to your hair, right? You know what I'm saying? Like you said, going out of that, you go out of the house, I could go out of the house, sweatpants, sneakers, whatever, but I'm gonna make sure my hair looks tight, right? Like I'm gonna know if there's one strand out of place, right? You know, the color in it. I love seeing so many older women now with like that white hair and
The salt
hair,
and
right?
pepper, yes.
Yes.
Right? Like even before I colored mine, like the salt and pepper was cool, right? But there was a time when I colored my hair because I'm like I started graying early. I started graying like in seventh grade, right?
Oh yeah. Really.
So yeah, so I started, coloring my hair early, right? The braids, the crochet braids, and then I was like, wait a minute, I'm spending all this money every. I used to go every 2 weeks to get the creamy crack, like you said. I was in there getting my relaxer, getting my hairstyle, getting all the stuff in it, and then you think about it, right? There's people that really are struggling because they actually have a illness that's causing them to lose their hair.
Right.
Mm.
And,
Mhm.
getting back to the toll that it plays on you, before I started experiencing significant hair loss, when I looked at other women, I would just look at them to see what style they were wearing, or if they could have done a better job, or if they combed the kitchen hair, right? So in essence, I was either trying to get or ideas, looking at a woman to give her props, or to express criticism. There's no reason in the world why she should have walked out the house with her hair like looking like that. Um, so then it turned to looking at all the women that have a full head of hair
Mm.
and wishing that your hair would start growing back.
Mm.
So that just takes you into a totally different mental zone, because now you're thinking, why me? Why did this happen to me? My
Mm.
sisters have full heads of hair, and again, we all had thin hair. I look at all my friends, and they've got full heads of hair. And again, I didn't even want a lot of length. I just wanted all of my hair.
Mhm.
So let me ask you a question, right? So when you were divorced, right? And you were, raising your son, you had all of this other stuff going on, right? Laid off, all of this other stuff. And then you started dating again,
Mm-hmm.
right? What was that experience like? Like how did you what did you feel like, getting to know, new people and how to manage the hair thing? Like was that something that was on your mind, or were you at the point where it was like whatever?
No, because, and again, it's just, this is how, God plants things for you, because, I didn't do a lot of dating between my divorce and meeting my second husband. Um, but when I wasn't with my first husband, I had hair. So it
Mm,
wasn't that big of a deal. And again, as it would start thinning, it would just be in, a small area up top. And
Mm.
I didn't have patchy, hair loss. Again, it was just like it would start thinning from the inside out, from the top out. So, anything that was going on, I was able to mask it.
Mm.
Um,
Mhm.
so, and if I was sitting there, going to second or third base with somebody, it was just like, for the most part, men already know, don't touch a black woman's hair. So it wasn't like you were going to run your fingers through my hair anyway, right? But by the time that actually happened, I was already wearing the protective styles.
okay.
So, but early on, it wasn't an issue. So date again, even in the early stages of dating my husband, wasn't an issue. And it took me a while too before I had enough courage to allow him to see what I was going through.
And what was that like when, you know, like you started sharing it?
Well, again, that was the whole thing. I shared it with him for a long time. And when I say share, it was very succinct.
Mm.
I have alopecia. Um, my hair loss is getting worse. And then that was it. That was the end of the conversation.
Mm.
Um, so he would come into the room. I would hear him as he's coming to the room, and I'd put something on my head so he wouldn't be able to see it, or style my hair so that it would cover it up. Um, After I washed my hair, I would not let him see what my hair looked like. I would not let him see me blow drying my hair. And then, of course, by the time I came home from getting my hair done, everything was hidden. So once I finally got the nerve up to start sharing with him physically the way that what was going on with my hair, of course he would, he was really sensitive to it. And every now and then he would say, like, babe, you're losing more hair.
Mm.
Or he would even say, he's like, your stylist would know better than I do, but it looks like your hair might actually be growing, because there were periods where it just seemed like, okay, it's starting to grow again. I'm not having to do the cover up or the comb over as much. But the day that he said to me, he said, babe, you should just let it go.
Wow.
Whatever you do, I'm here to support you. That meant so much to me, because it told me that he loved me for who I was.
Yeah.
That was definitely the sign of that. And I think about constantly NDRE's song, I Am Not My Hair. That's probably when I started embracing that. So between what my husband said and that song, I started to embrace what was really truly happening to me.
So Gina and Regina, like, you don't have, I'm assuming you don't have, like, we don't have, the three of us, like, alopecia, but have you experienced those moments where you're struggling with your hair, right? Like you wear extensions, right? I'm sure that's part of it is convenience, but is it for any other reason?
Well, convenience. I like the style, but when I transitioned from not using perms and I went natural, it was a struggle trying to get um, the right what to do, the right shampoo, the right conditioners, because it's different. And what I found out is that taking care of natural styles are a lot more involved than getting a perm, and you just get a style and it may last a couple of weeks. You bump it a little bit or something like that. When it's natural, it's definitely more care, more consideration. I know that my scalp requires a lot more hydration. So I just can't use something because it say moisturize. I didn't know you had to have moisturize and hydration. Like, I wasn't that wasn't part of my regular conversation when I used to go get my washing sets and get a touch up. It was like, oh yeah, you look good. See you in 4 weeks. See you in 5 weeks. Now it's like, no, see me in 10 days, because I got to do take care of my own hair. So, but what I did, and I noticed that it was I felt like I was losing my hair. What I didn't realize is that I was combing it wrong. So when you do have natural hair stuff, you can't run the comb through your hair. You got to take your time and start from the bottom and work to the root. I didn't know that. I was working from the root to the bottom. So any new growth that I had, I was basically pulling it out. And so now I had to learn these things, because now I'm completely natural. I'm so, you know, I'm all in the natural. Don't want any chemicals in my hair. But like Sheila said, it's also looking at the shampoos, looking at the conditioners, looking at anything that you're putting in your hair. Because while it's not a relaxer, there are chemicals that the shampoos and the conditioners are made of. So then I started saying, okay, I want more natural. So all of those things I've been paying more attention to over the last 5 years. And, in a way, during the pandemic, I wasn't able to go get my hair done. So it's like what I'm going to do in the middle. And, until we were able to go and return to that. So once the it was lifted and we were able to go back out there and all of that, I said, you know what, I'm just going natural. But then it's like to say it is one thing, to commit to the responsibility of what that means on
Yeah.
a continuous basis is a whole nother ball game. So I'm learning that, and I'm just feeling comfortable enough, like to actually when I don't have these, which I haven't had for like a year. I went to North Carolina. My daughter did my hair. It's been over a year since I've had extensions because she's the only one that I trust in my hair. So most of the time I wear wraps. So where some people wear extensions, I wear wraps. Why? Because the protective styles for me would I would corn roll it off, put it in a couple of nice little braids, and then wrap it up and then let it down at home. Now is at a length where I'm comfortable to wear it out. It just so happens that it was a double bonus that she did my hair when I was down there a couple of months ago, but a little over a month ago. But now I'm like, it's getting cold again, so I'm gonna go back to the rest because I don't like the cold.
Uh,
But I really had to learn how to take care of natural hair, and it's not a one-two fix. We think, oh, I'm cutting the perm and that's it, and I'm going natural. It's going to be good. No, you got to learn how to take care of your hair. You got to learn what your hair is sensitive to. You got to learn the difference between blow drying to and too much heat, how that damages natural hair. And if you don't put the right stuff on it, you start to feel brittleness and all of that. So I've been a journey. I'm on a journey, and I'm glad I did it. And I don't regret doing it, but it's like it's freeing at one point because I don't worry about the perm anymore. But
mm,
there's a different responsibility now that I have to create a
mhm.
routine for taking care of my hair now that I'm wearing it natural.
All right.
And I still looking to hold my lymph fields back because I lost length. With the perms, my hair was always like nice and full, and all of a sudden. Plus, we're getting older. I went through all of that. Hormone stuff is real, Sheila. I didn't know how real it was until I was going through it. Like, what the
Yeah.
Wednesdays? It ain't. Where's the bounce back? It's not growing as fast as it used to. So, I got to have more
Not to
vitamin
mention the
E.
hormones that are just going crazy when you're
Mhm.
pregnant,
Yes,
right? That
right.
hair growth when you're pregnant, woo!
Nice.
That is yes. And then the reality hits right after you've had that baby for a little while, then it starts getting back to normal.
You got to handle it extra love and care because it ain't the same.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Regina? Like, what has your experience been with like your crown?
Well, mine is similar to Sheila's. My family, well, at least yeah, a lot of my family, especially on my mom's side, um, had thin hair, and as they got older, it thinned. But my hair, um, I my hair started coming out, and I had the locks, and I just cut them off and it freed me because I was trying to I was trying to swoop it to the side or pull it up and do all these things, and it wasn't working. And one day I just said, just cut it off. And I love my locks, love them, love them, love them. But another thing is my hair is cotton soft, so locks was not good for me. I didn't
Mm,
know that at the time because you don't know,
mm-hmm.
and it really, as they grew, is the weight of pulling it. It was pulling my roots. So when we start all this, we don't know. So my type of hair is not good for locks, even though I love them to death. I didn't know that, and I was taking medicine, and I didn't follow what the doctor told me because of the medicine I was taking. He told me it could cause hair loss. You
Mm,
have to take protein.
Oh,
And I would take protein here and there, and I didn't do that. So that caused it for me. And then once I cut it off, I have spots and blotches.
mm,
But when the hair, I've never gone to a dermatologist. Now I'm going to go because speaking of Sheila, but the
okay.
hairstylists that I did had, they said you don't have alopecia. We don't think, but it's best for you to go to a dermatologist. But we can see that your hair is growing. It's very, very thin, but it's growing.
Hmm.
It does. It come in. And at one point, when I was trying to really take care of it before I cut my locks, my loctician noticed that um, at one point, one side that was really, really bald was starting to come in, and she was able to put locks in it and
Mm,
to grow it. But one day I was just over it. I had a bad day, a bad month, and the last day of the month I never will forget was September 29th. The year I can't remember. It might be 3 years now. I sat in her chair and I said, "Cut it off." And
Mhm.
she said, and all the time when I would say that before, she would talk me out of it. This time she didn't. I knew it was time. She said, "You sure?" I said, "I'm sure."
mm,
And it was the most freeing thing because I was just holding on to dead weight. I felt like so,
mm.
and now my hair is what it is. I do think about because I would like to date, and that's the one thing I think about when if I meet someone. Like I try to cover it up. Even now, like, well, let me just try to do something to make the little spots. But
Yeah.
it is what it is, and I walk comfortably in it. Sometimes I have regrets, not all the time, but most of the time I walk comfortably in where I am now. But it took a long time. It took a long time to get there.
All right. So if you're watching the show, this is the Woman to Woman show on the New You Nation Network. Sheila was kind enough to share her journey with alopecia, and I can't believe like we have hit the top of the hour. That's how engrossed I was in the conversation. And so one of the questions I was going to ask you, I think Regina probably already answered it, but I'm going to still ask you it. Like, why did sharing this story like matter?
Because it's one of those things that we don't talk about. Like we've been shying away from menopause. We talk about those things that are glaring, right? We will talk about divorce. We will talk about menopause. We don't talk about trauma and grief. And which is why I said at the top of the hour, one of the things that I'm grateful for is knowing that I am not alone, because there is a whole community of beautiful women that have made the decision to go bald. Because just like you were sick and tired, or I was sick and tired of losing my hair, I was sick and tired of not living in my truth. Right? So I began over the years openly talking about it. I just bring it up in casual conversation. We'd be talking about hair, and I'd say, yeah, because I have alopecia and blah, 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 that. And that just started making people more comfortable because it is like a silent topic. And it's also a manner of grief, right? Because as a woman, you are grieving. And again, men go through this too. You are grieving the loss of something that you feel you identify with and that you are supposed to have. So it's also now the decision to go bald is something that you don't take lightly, because you have to be ready. So I started mentally preparing myself and emotionally preparing myself that this was going to inevitably happen. So probably when I was around 58, I set the time. And I
Wow.
said, 60 is my year, right?
Okay.
God allows me to live to 60. It is all coming off. I've always been an earring fanatic. I have always been a lover of lip gloss. So I said, That's all that I need. While I do draw on my eyebrows, I still have my eyebrows, right? Because they are sparse. And we know that gray hairs, you just cannot beat them. It takes a lot, right? And that is the one thing that I regret, not being able to go gray.
Really?
That is probably the one thing that I haven't had that I really miss. But I prepared myself to the point that when, as I got closer, I got so excited about it.
Nice.
So now I have learned to shave my head. I have learned to use items that work for me. I've started to learn what to do because I turned 60 in July, and I shaved it all off a couple of weeks after I turned 60. So I'm learning, just like with natural hair, what works for me. I'm looking, joined all of these groups, and I see all of these beautiful women. And again, I have no other choice, but I wear glasses. Glasses has very nice and fashionable frames has always been my weakness. So I was like, girl, you got glasses upon glasses upon glasses. Now you can show them off for real. I walk out of here with my head just a glistening because I will oil it up. But I look at what other women are doing as well, so that I'm educated about this whole process. And I have my husband. My first shave was with my husband. Because
Nice.
he give me instructions, not only how to shave, but what products to use.
Nice.
So it's something you truly have to prepare yourself for, because it's not easy. It's before I went bald, I told the people closest to me at work, and after I sat in the chair and it was all gone, I did a selfie where I was smiling, because when I tell you I was happy because there is a sense of freedom. There is a sense of liberation, because again, I am not my hair, and this is who I am. I stand proudly in me.
All right. Well, that is
I
it.
love it.
Woman to Woman show on the New You Nation Network. If you're watching now or you tune in later, really rich conversation about alopecia, and Sheila shared her journey. And I guarantee you, Regina already said now she's going to the dermatologist, right?
Just to verify, because
verify.
my stylist said it's not, but now you named all these different things. You said patchy, but I do know mine came from medication, because I have always been the one not to follow the doctor's directions for whatever reason, and I was told, so I can't even blame it on my doctor. It's a possibility, so you got to have protein every day. And I have it here, and it was so many grams. I think I needed to have at least 60 or 30. No, not 30. 60 or 90. It must have been 90 a day.
I mean, yeah, I think you find that protein is good for a lot of things. I would say, like, we're having these sister locks, like I think it's every quarter. I can't even remember how often, but I get a protein treatment, right? Like on my hair. But I mean, the one thing I heard tonight, and I hope other women heard, is one, you have to advocate for yourself, right? And that's what any doctor, right? But I think especially in this arena, because I think doctors are so quick to say, "Oh, it's not that," right? It's the medication, or it's your hormones, or it's whatever. And so I think I would say, anybody that knows me, my friends laugh. I go to the doctor at the drop of a dime, so I'm not the one that worry about it. But yeah, you have to advocate for yourself. But I think the most important thing also is, like what you said, Sheila, is right. Like, we are not our hair, right? Like women, we have to start embracing who we are, right? As we are, because we were created wonderfully, right, by a creator who made us all unique. So we all are not supposed to have the same type of hair and look the same
Mhm.
way and whatever. And the other side of it is we have to stop worrying about what the man is going to think, because they ain't worrying about what we thinking. Right?
Absolutely not.
They walk around with their little bald spots and they cool with it until they ready to get rid of it. They walk around with their bare bellies, right? And they cool with it, right? So that's the other thing is do what makes you feel free,
Yes.
right? Do what makes you feel comfortable and really think about, if you're holding on to your hair or a style or doing something, think about why you're doing it. Right. And go through the process, like Sheila said. It wasn't like she woke up one day and was like, I'm cutting off my hair. It was like a 2-year kind of journey to get there. Right. And so a part of it is also being intentional. That's right. I'm gonna use the word intention. Right. But it's being intentional about, that journey, right?
Mhm.
Because everything that I heard you say, from the minute you started experiencing it, there was intention in everything that you did, right? And finding out, what the cause was, right? And figuring out, am I gonna wear wigs? Am I gonna wear crochet braids? Like, and then I'm giving myself 2 years and then it's gone. And then what happened? It's gone. And one day you show up here with a beautiful bald head.
Mhm.
You got a nice head too. I don't know if my hair
Yes.
was like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the thing about it too. As the hair loss started progressing too, I was able, because another thing too is that although I've always been a confident woman, right?
Mhm.
Um, I didn't like to even look at my own head.
Mm.
I didn't want to see how much hair loss I was experiencing.
Mhm.
So it would be very infrequently where I would take a mirror, go in the bathroom, take a mirror, and just, see what was going on in the back. But I could not do that for the longest time. But as that preparation came, then I just started looking at my hair freely. I had to realize that I needed to stop shielding it from my son.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
He was probably the last person, the one that loves me the most, the one that loves me unconditionally. And he was the last person that knew I was doing this, that I was experiencing it. Because again, even when with my husband, do what you need to do, babe. If my son was coming down the stairs, I put something on my head.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
But I made sure that I told him when I cut it all off, and I sent him the picture because he was at work, and he said, "You look beautiful, Mom."
Mm.
Ah.
I love
So
it.
So get you a man like Sheila, who be like, and a son like Sheila, who be
That's
like,
right.
do what you gotta do, because your hair does not define who you are. So, as India Ari would say, we are not our hair. And so, this has been a woman to woman show on the New You Nation Network. We're a little bit over, but there is a good reason for being over. Sheila, thank you so much for sharing your journey. I'm sure it's going to help somebody else. And
Definitely.
if you are experiencing it, Sheila said there's a lot of groups out there that you can also go and join and get some, help and
support.
from and support. And you could reach out to Sheila on Instagram, SDI. I don't remember your whole handle.
SDI Nail Society.
Yes, right. And so, I'm sure she'll be happy to give you some tips or whatever. But thank you so much for joining us tonight. The Woman to Woman Show will be back here again next Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, we wish you a wonderful week and we hope to see you again. And again, like and share, and join us back here next week. Have a great night.
Night,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye. Good night.